Just kidding, guys.
You don't want to know what they were talking about.
I'm trying to figure out how you, like, when do y'all have to know if Taylor Swift is coming and somebody's going to
That's
point
literally
out?
what this conversation.
Is this?
It's got to be you know it'll be a thing.
I'm ready for it. I've
I'm
never
sorry.
been more ready for anything in my life.
As you should.
Anyways.
Like we talked about last night, didn't go our way. Able to go in today and reevaluate our plans and talk about our stuff, what went well, what didn't go well, tell the truth moments for the team, tell the truth moments for ourselves, and now on to the Philadelphia Eagles. But before that, I got to talk to you guys, so open up for questions.
What was the truth in those meetings, as much as you're willing to share it with us?
We played, which I thought, winning football in two phases of the game, and we didn't play winning football in our offensive phase of the game. And that's just the truth of the matter. And we got to find a way to play better and get those guys to get more confidence and go out there and be able to do what we was able to do on an opening drive more consistently. We got to go out there and be able to generate more splash plays, which we're capable of doing. And we got to stay out of that second half realm that we were in, where it was get back on track, play long third down or extra long third down, which are really just tough to get any single week, and particularly against a defense like the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, you don't ever want to take credit away from your opponent, but when you put yourself in harm's way like we did in the second half, whether it be penalties or whether it be a make you get back on track play that they made, that's going to be tough.
Was any part of your offensive game plan predicated on Kirk's health and what you thought of it, or what you concerned with him coming back from the injury?
You know, with Kirk being here, we've been doing the same thing since he's been here, and that's how we planned on playing. And we played that way throughout. We played that way for a minute, and we've done a bunch of different things in our case. And everything we're going to do is figuring out how to win this football game, and that was the plan, to go out there and win the football game.
So he's healthy. He came back he didn't show any ill signs coming in the game or recovering from the game, and it's kind of his first live action.
Yeah, you know, obviously, you know, probably some rust from not playing for so long, but that's just with all of them. You know, Grady had a bunch of rust. We had a bunch of guys out there, Avery Williams, Kirk, and we want to get better, but we got to play better. At the position, we got to play better around them.
There were a couple indicators about that led people to think one way or another about Kirk's health, which was basically taking no snaps from under center, and then also there was, I think, no play action in the game. Well, is that scheme, or is that something that was situational to this game plan against the Steelers?
Well, everything is going to be situational to the game plan for who you're playing against. And when you go out and you put those guys in what we do and how we want to play and try to put those guys in a good position to get those guys blocked, those aliens that the Pittsburgh Steelers have, you got to try to figure those things out. It exposed some things inside for us and made it a tough day inside. And then it also activated those guys outside a little bit, and those guys got going. And, you know, that's a good football team. And I don't want to take away from any credit what they were able to do. But, you know, our plan to go out there, we got to go out there and execute it better in order to get them protected a little bit better. I believe he gave up 7 hits and he got hurt a bunch. And I don't know, 1 sack from T.J. Watt at least, or 2 sacks on the day. But they definitely hit us too much when it came to some of the drop-back passes for different situations. Some of it situational on the third down and extra longs. Some of the second down and longs when the get back on tracks got tough when they caught up to our screen game. And then we got to find a better way to stay on track, particularly in the second half.
What did you see that you liked out of the passing attack?
You know, wasn't a great day for us, you know, on the passing attack when you come to talking about those things and how you want to execute and how you want to get those things off. You know, when you talk about the second half led, I mean, 3rd and 12 and 3rd and whatever they were, those are all tough downs, and those are going to be tough downs every single week if you put yourself in those things. But on that first drive, when we're able to move the ball, running the ball down the field, throwing the ball to Bijan, quick pass to Drake, another crossing route to Mooney, and you execute and you go down the field that way until J.J. makes a great stop on that run play and kind of slows us down. We hit a screen to Bijan, you know, a little extra shove there on the push, and you potentially walk into a touchdown, right? And so that's what it's supposed to look like, what that first drive looked like, coming out the half, getting that 2-minute drive at the end of the half. That's what it's supposed to look like, getting a touchdown to Kyle. That's what it's supposed to look like. But when you come out in the second half and you have the penalty on the crossing right to Kyle with the hands to the face, questionable or not, whatever the case may be, those things set you back. The holding sets you back when you get the big run from Bijan, put yourself in 2nd and long or 3rd and long. The passing game is going to be tough when you play anybody in this league with that significant amount of pass rush that they have.
On that screen, on film, how close
Oh.
coming to pop it?
In the first drive, Led?
Yeah.
That was
screen out there to the right.
That was pretty close. Drake London's locked on this guy. He's got him pretty good. Bijan hits it in there tight. The guy falls off. Drake jumps on the back of his leg. I believe Bijan's going to make that next guy miss that's in front of him, which he's really focused on. As good runners look ahead. And the guy jumps on the back of his legs and makes that tackle. But we were that close to scoring in the opening drive, which would have been really good for the confidence, for the statement, for those guys going out, being able to march down the field like we did with the amount of runs, with the amount of passes, with the short passing game coming to life, with the plan that we wanted to go out there and execute versus the Pittsburgh Steelers and the ugly style of ball that they play and they are known for, to be able to get out there and try to get after them a little bit.
I think it was TJ that said post-game that the defense overall for Pittsburgh felt pretty confident in picking up in the offensive tendencies that y'all were showing, and that as the game went on, they felt even more confident. I'm curious, kind of hearing that as a coach, what challenges do you enact on yourself, Zach Robinson, to make that not be the case moving forward?
It's less about us, it's more about TJ. TJ is a great player in this league, and he gets tendencies on everybody. And if you do it long enough and you go out there and play against a guy that caliber, that's that good, they're going to find a way to wreck the game. And we were trying to limit that as much as possible. When he jumped the gun and got offsides one time and got the sack, and then we got the illegal contact on one that was allowing him to wreck the game, he made the play on the fumble when it was down on the ground. But he is a phenomenal football player, and he is always going to have things and different elements to the game. I've only been around a few guys like him in my career. Warren Sapp, Aaron Donald, and those kind of guys that find a way to wreck the game. And he was certainly one of them, and he is a guy that can definitely find things within the game and before it.
To that end, when you have a guy like Caleb Berry, he's seen a lot. He's up against this guy, play in, play out, try and shift protection, help him out a little bit, just knowing the level of talent that TJ Watt is. I'm curious, kind of as you go into this week, what conversations do you have with Caleb McGarry specifically about, hey man, maybe even wash this, you understand who this guy is and how he wrecked the game?
Yeah, it's not – when you're talking about a guy like TJ, you're not talking just to Caleb. You're talking about the whole realm of it all, the slide to him, the execution of the chip game, the execution on how you want to pay attention to this guy, the reason you may not do certain play actions versus this guy to leave somebody in a one-on-one situation. You got to be ready to deal with your cadence and your snap count. You got to do everything imaginable to try to get him off of his game. And the first drive, we were able to do that. We were able to do that in the 2-minute drive. And then he kind of got a hold of us, made some plays happen. They tightened up in the run game, was able to lock us down there a little bit later in the game. And they put us in some unfavorable situations, which really favor him when you're talking about those extra long situations, those get back on tracks.
Coach, it was overall it was a tough outing for for Kirk yesterday.
Yes.
What's your assessment of his decision making under duress, and where do you see improvement?
The assessment is easy for him yesterday. It wasn't good enough. We threw 2 interceptions. We got to make better decisions in the passing game all around. We can't turn the ball over to allow our defense to go out there and get some big stops for us, which they did. But, it just wasn't good enough. And we're going to be really clear about that. Whether it's wins or losses, we'll always make those assessments to our quarterback and to everybody else. It's just the quarterback will get the most attention at all times, along with me. So we know that. We've addressed that today, and our guys will go out there and they'll come back better.
Because Sunday didn't go as desired, do you change preparation at all this week and how you go about practice?
Taryn, is a process, and you always go about your process. With the natural Monday night game, there'll naturally be some changes. There'll naturally be a different jog through. There'll naturally be different days that you do different things. But it's a process that you have. You got to go out there. You got to work. The defense played really well. Special teams played pretty good. We got to play better on offense.
Forgive me if I'm being honest, and I just want to make sure I understand.
Yes.
Is Kirk healthy? Do you feel like Kirk is healthy?
I feel like Kirk is healthy. He's been healthy since he's been here, since he's been back. Obviously, the restriction that we had on him early, just like I talked about throughout, you're not being obstinate either. The restrictions we obviously put on him when he first got here, being smart with the OTA days. Obviously, when we came back to training camp, he was full go and be able to move. Other than the scrambles and some of those things, we limited. Towards the end of training camp, we allowed those things to happen, got him ready to go. We got into a game yesterday, and we got to get better.
Coach, would you say for your offensive line assessment, would you say that some of the downside was more attributed to what your opponent was doing? Was it more scheme-based adjustments? What are your thoughts there?
It's all encompassing. Hard to just say it's all on the opponent. Two really good players on the edge. Their players inside yesterday played particularly well. We got to play better. We got to execute some of the plan better that we want to do to try to limit those guys. You can't just say it's one thing when it comes down like that, when they're able to stop you in the second half the way they were. You can't. It's never going to be one thing. It's going to be all-encompassing. You know, how the backs are aligned, how they play in the protection, all of the things come into play when you talk about those things. So you don't want to take away from the credit from those guys either. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a very good defense and a very good football team.
How has the team responded today?
You know, it's always a little somber when you talk about football, but you got to bounce back. I think you have those tell-the-truth moments. You'd be able to go in there and watch those things, be brutally honest with yourself, take some hard coaching, you know, be able to give some immediate feedback to your coaches, whatever it is, how you get better. You know, it's never fun to lose, but it's a part of our business, and it's a part of us bouncing back. And everything is a learning experience. This is a great learning experience for us. If we win, if you lose, it's all learning experience to be able to go and move forward to the next opponent and figure out how to win football games. So this team they're resilient, and they're a pretty tough group, and I watch them bounce back from practice to practice or from meeting to meeting, whatever the case may be, and I got a feeling they'll do the same thing.
Do you lead those tough conversations, or do you let the players lead them?
I guess it goes both ways. You know, like we want to have an open and honest communication from the player to player to coach to player to whatever personnel group to whatever it is. But I guess it's all encompassing when you talk about those conversations.
Yeah, Coach, I'm still stuck on not playing in the exhibition season and you know, coming out and, you know, I was expecting, you know, that it might be a little sloppy and choppy, but how does that plan come to, I'm like, is it analytics, is it player performance, is it medical? I don't know any coach that'll turn down a scrimmage.
It's a very, very easy for us. You know, it's mitigating injury and playing in the preseason games. And like you don't get mulligans for when guys get hurt in the preseason, right? So guys that played a significant amount of football, Kurtz played 13 years in the league, right? His 15 snaps of preseason game wouldn't have prepared him any more for the Pittsburgh Steelers than going out there playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers preparation that he had throughout the week. And I wholeheartedly believe in that. Now, could it help them to go out there and get a feel for the pocket, some of those things? Maybe. But the risk of the injury and the risk reward, I feel really comfortable with not taking when it comes to going out and playing football with those guys out there in that situation. You know, Grady didn't play a snap, and he looked really good. And it's up to us as professionals and coaches to get those guys ready. And we got to get our offense better suited to go and ready to play in those situations. So, you know, the preseason game, that'll be an argument for you until we win. So we got to go out and find a way to get a win this week.
And next year, maybe you get a little bit more with opportunity to have 2 joint practices.
We will. You know, not having the construction, that'd be nice. You know, you get the 4 that you're allotted, and then we get to maximize those opportunities to get those things going.
We'll talk a lot about the offense. Obviously, that's been this whole thing, but this defense, and I'm curious with Justin Simmons and Matthew Judon coming in late, and we talked a lot about getting them up to speed and ready to go week 1. Now that the game's over and you got a chance to look back on kind of the additions of them to the defense, what did you think of their performance?
It was really exactly what I said last night. You know, when you went back and watch, Judon played physical. He played really high-level ball for us, setting the edge in the run game and being able to come off and make some tackles, you know, getting a half a sack over there with Grady hustling, jumping, and getting a part of that thing, man, was absolutely outstanding from Matthew Judon's standpoint and being able to do some of those things. It wasn't a game that was able to open up so you can really see his pass rush come to life because it was one of those Pittsburgh Steelers game where you grind it out and keeper, run, not putting himself in tough situations. But the few situations that he got up, he showed up, was able to get pressure, was able to do some really good things. And no different than Justin Simmons, just like we talked about last night, making that one big-time play on 3rd down, coming down in coverage, but keeping the roof on top of the coverage to limit the explosives, right? They only had 3 explosives just like us, and it was because of that roof on the coverage by Jesse Bates and Judon. So Jesse Bates and Justin. I'm really excited where those 2 players play for us, being new guys coming into the building and really giving us a lift on defense and helping us go out there and really keep us in that game and make it a one-possession game to give us a chance to win.
You had a couple guys make it back after being out for a couple of years, in Eddie Goldman and Kevin King. You know, King didn't play that much, but long journey for both of those guys.
Eddie had a significant play in our run defense yesterday, going out there really getting stout for us, playing in the middle of the defense. He got the 1 penalty for the defensive holding He played really well when it comes to those things, and he's got some technique things that we can clean up and get better and keep him in that long term. That rotation with those guys kept Grady fresh, allowed him to be the best version of himself. I believe we had 6 linemen play yesterday, which was a big deal for us in the D-line room. I think we had 4 outside linebackers play yesterday, which is a big deal in that just defensive front room and what they're able to do. And then Kevin King was able to come in our sub package for the little bit that we're able to do for those 2 plays in 2 minutes and really be a contributor in those moments. I think they both for 2 minutes. One been out of 2 minutes, but whatever the case may be, then he able to jump in and jump right into special teams and contribute. So I'm really happy for those guys, and the ability to get those buys back for us was big and huge.
Did your inside linebackers play?
I thought the outside linebackers played well. I'm sorry, the inside line. I mean, the defense played well in general, but when you just go from the front, the D-line on the run game, the inside linebackers controlling everything, making tackles, running around, being really a presence all over the place in all of them, in the situations that they were able to play in. The outside linebackers going out there being disruptive in the run game and really shedding and making plays, playing physical. And then the back end really keeping things in front of them. You know, you got a great player on the edge for those guys as well, and he made 2 plays down the field. The one you want back is the one at 2 minutes, and the other 50-50 ball. Those things happen in the game, but if you can take away that one play at the end of 2 minutes, you feel really good about really the overall performance and holding those guys up, to limiting those guys to explosives, to limiting the guys in the run game. And I know the run game gets out of whack. Obviously, when you get a running quarterback, he's able to create a couple explosives, well, one explosive, but a couple of yards for those guys to get that thing into a respectable number that you want to have it on in the stat sheet. But the guys played well enough to win on defense and gave us a chance to win. It was fired up.
Saquon, looked like Saquon again.
Sure.
In their first game, as a defensive coach, how do you think about a challenge like a guy like that?
It's just really the whole offense when you look at those guys, right? You're talking about a bunch of superstars across the board, the Slim Reaper, A.J. Brown, you got Saquon out there. They just traded for Dotson. They got a bunch of guys out there. They got the biggest offensive line in the history of the game. They got a brand new center, and it's going to create a really challenge for us. And Hurts was the run-up in MVP just a year ago, whatever the case may be. So they got a good offense. So we got to get up in the lab right now, and that's what today and tomorrow is about.
Let's go back to the offense in the second half. Obviously, you're shooting yourselves in the foot with negative plays and penalties and things like that. How difficult does that make it for a play caller when you're just not able to find that rhythm and move the chains, kind of keep the play sheet going?
It's extremely difficult for a play caller when you shoot yourself in the foot with the penalties and you get thrown off track, because you got to find that play to get you back on. And if you don't get a chance to get that rhythm, that's going to be tough. And really, less about the play caller, more about the opportunistic defense that the Pittsburgh Steelers are and have been. I played a bunch of games against those guys, and they all eerily feel the same, that they just stay right into it to the end of the game so they can have a chance to win. And we got to do a better job in winning those games.
Is that down to Tomlin? Do you think just the culture that he's created in that team and that defense?
For certain, it's definitely a part of who they are, and they find ways to go out there and get it done every single year, and they've been that way. We talked about not playing the ghost, but those guys got a definite history and a culture of playing that style of football, that ugly brand of football that just wins football games, and they did it again yesterday. They got us.
Coach, everybody knows Watt is a phenomenal talent.
Yes.
The question is, going into the game, yesterday, it was going to be a tall task for McGarry. At the point where Watt was kind of getting the best of that, where were you guys at with making adjustments there? And do you feel like, looking back, do you feel like those were the right adjustments? Is there something different or something more? Or is it just he's just that good, there was nothing you feel like you guys could have done?
He's a really good player, and he had 1 sack, and then he had the 2 where one jumped off sides, one was the penalty. He could have wrecked the game if those other 2 count, but with the chip plan and some of the things that we're trying to do to him with the slides to him and all those type of things and making those adjustments, he's still going to make some plays. You like to limit those things to keep you on track to be able to make those plays. And the only way you do that really is to keep your run game efficient. And that's what they did the best job of in the second half, is making our run game not as efficient as it was in the first half.
Speaking of the run game, it's like they had almost double the run attempts than we did. Is there some things that kept us from having more run attempts?
Yes, when they knock you off track. When you get off track, your runs get limited. You got to do a couple of different things. When you don't get that first down picked up in the second half, in order you to keep the drive rolling like we did in the first quarter, Bijan run, screen, pass, Tyler comes in, Tyler run, Bijan comes back in, run, screen. Oh man, Watt made a play. Screen to Bijan, almost score, kick the field goal. When you don't get a chance to get into that rhythm, they're going to limit your attempts at runs. I believe they had 41, and we were able to get into the 20s. We wanted to get very high with that. We were not able to get to that stage, so we can make sure we can control the football, which they did, and be able to get those things going. And we only had one drive like that, minus the 2-minute drive, which was really good as well.
Anything else? Thanks, y'all.
All right, guys.